topics to the table that every salesperson needs to get proficient at. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion about those topics, okay? And we're going to tape it and we're going to put it on our podcast. So, because I think that a lot of folks will think that Roger and I, oh God, they could not sit down in the same room together and agree on anything. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Jim's a very polarizing figure, as am myself. But what people don't know is from the time I met Jim, we just kind of hit it off. We're the same age. We grew up with the same stuff. We have things to talk about, you know. But me coming out of the Lynn Hickey organization, it's all about excitement and wham, wham, wham. And Jim coming out of the Roper organization, which was in a small town, and the differences in what we were taught it's just like the same Bible is used in a Pentecostal church and a Baptist church. However, it was in the way that it is. The Pentecostal preachers up there screaming and yelling and hooping and hollering, and you know most Baptists don't believe in dancing. So you got two different things out of the same Bible, and that's basically what it was from the time that I met Jim. And I read a bunch of his stuff. I found a bunch of his training stuff on a computer over here in the superstore. I printed it all and used it, and one of my guys looked up and said, "This is Jim Adams stuff." I said, "Yeah, but it's good, isn't it?" And it was stuck on a computer file over here. And I used it, but it's basically the same stuff. I might approach it from a different angle, and our hope and our thoughts are that some people will take sides and say, well, I agree with this, well, I agree with this, because you have to. You have to. But in the end, it's to help you sell more cars. But you're going to have to do your own personality, your own way, in the way that you feel comfortable doing. If I want you to go out and read a offer to purchase or negotiate and flip it over and negotiate the four things that we'll refer to as a foursquare, my way, and you think, gosh, you know, maybe I can't do that. But then you hear Jim's way, and you're like, nah, I like that. I could do that. That's what you do. And also the things I've seen through my eyes and my experience and the way that I'll teach and verbalize it, and the way the things that Jim's seen, the way he'll teach it and verbalize it, may be different. But you watch the end result and see if it comes out
absolutely
the way you think it will.
Absolutely. What's the first topic we're going to discuss today?
Due to modern technology, I want you to know that I can put notes in this iPhone and I can send them to Jim, which I think that's just great. I just make notes and I send them to Jim, and it's just great. I wrote Jim and Roger on here. Everywhere I go, from store to store to store, I notice this. And this is the number one thing that I think sales managers and salesmen need to overcome, and that's fear. False events appearing real is what I always call fear. If you have, let's all pretend for just a second, you guys are all general managers. Everybody in this room is a general manager. Jim and I are the ownership. And every one of your stores, we're grading each of your stores on different performance. And let's just say that Sheldon's store has a low average on used cars. Their used cars are running $800 a copy on the front end. The first thing I'm going to say to Jim is Sheldon and his team are selling out of fear.
Absolutely. Running scared.
And in order to, first thing is recognize the fear. Where the fear is coming from. Is it from the salespeople or from the managers? Typically, you know, a fish rots from the head. Typically the fear is going to start from the general manager or the dealer principal on down. And there's different things that we can do to overcome that fear. Now, if your salespeople are afraid, just like when we just role played and we brought the offer to purchase out, and you could see I was afraid as I was staring at it and I wouldn't look anybody in the eyes. There's different levels of fear. Be honest. How many people in here have taken at least 500 meet and greets? You've done at least 500 meet and greets.
Yeah, at least.
Were there fear in a percentage of those? 20%, 30%, 40%? Was there fear somewhere? Did your heart start pitter-pattering kind of fast?
Almost every time.
Why did that happen?
Fear of loss, fear that you're going to say the wrong thing or they're going to have too many objections.
That's exactly right.
Let me interject something about fear while Roger's taking a break there. We need to understand where fear comes from. It can't be day and night at the same time. Right? It's got to be one of the two things. It's got to be daytime or it's got to be nighttime. One thing you need to understand about fear is 98% of the things that you worry about never come to pass. 98% of the stuff that goes on in your head. See, we have an unbelievable mind. It put a man on the moon. It showed us what DNA looked like. Our mind has the capacity to do outstanding things. And one of the things that we can do is manufacture in our mind the absolute worst case scenario. We're awesome at it because our mind is built to problem solve. So if 98% of the things that we worry about never come to pass, why in the world would we ever dwell on the 2% and manufacture the 2% of the things? So every time that we're confronted with fear, that is an opportunity to triumph over fear. That is your opportunity, because just like you can't have day and have night, you can't have courage and have fear at the same time. Courage is triumph over fear. Just like when the sun comes up in the morning, when that sun peeks out, I don't care how hard that night wants to hold on. It ain't going to hold on for long, because that sun's coming up and it's daytime, like it or not. And when you, every time that you say, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about this, I'm so stressed out about this, blah, 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 that is when you must do the uncomfortable. That's when you have to face the fear and do the uncomfortable every single time. Bad stuff happens. My favorite scripture in Job, as sure as sparks fly upward, trouble comes to man. You know what? It's gonna. But most of the stuff that we worry about, most of the stuff that we get concerned about, most of the stuff that gets us all stressed out and makes us lose sleep or not be able to go out there and present that offer or not be able to go shake that customer's hand, is some false events appearing real that we manufactured in our head long before we walked out there.
Amen to that. And I say, to overcome that with the sparks, in Isaiah, God tells us He knows the plans He has for us, and that's to prosper us. Mm-hmm. And the fear, when I was a green pea, and I shared with you guys this morning that I was going to revolutionize the business. I was going to be transparent. My customers were going to like me. I'm an honest person. I'm really going to be honest. How I was going to revolutionize the business. And these old car dogs that were overweight and smoking cigarettes and pitching quarters and playing liar's poker with $100 bills, and I didn't even have a $100 bill. And all the things they were doing, I was going to be better than them. But after a while, and when you're selling cars, your first customer, you're afraid because it's just your first customer. You don't know what you don't know, and there's fear. But after a while of rejection, here comes a bunch of rejection. You have to have thick skin in this business. It's your armor. Your skin is going to be your armor. When you get enough rejection, you get put in the Oh You Did club with customers who promise you to be back. After your first week, you go to your boss, you say, everybody's saying what they did, and you're saying your good nights. Are the cars locked up? Are all the keys put up? Is all this? Did you get anything sold today? And you say, I didn't sell one today, boss, but I've got 2 going tomorrow, because you believe your customer will be back. They said they'd be back. That's what they said. You believed them. You don't know to listen between the lines. You let them go. How you overcome the fear, and the way that you do overcome the fear, is you have to look at it like a baseball game. A great hitter. Let's say you're a great hitter. Would you agree that a great hitter is a lifetime 300 hitter? Guy who plays 20 years is 300 hitter. What if he's a 350 hitter?
He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He's right. A 300 hitter. Does that mean that 7 out of 10 times he went back to the dugout with his bat on his shoulder? But did he go up there thinking, gosh, this is a good pitcher. I'll never hit him. So I'm going to slouch over here and put the bat by my shoulder. I just already know he's going to strike me out. Look at him. He's on 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I always use the example of Mark McGwire. You know, when in the 70, his 71 home run that year, they cut in on the news broadcast. If he went up to bat, they cut it in that little screen, and there was a good chance that he wouldn't go, God, look, 70 million people are watching me on live TV.
So you mean he didn't go up there and go, I can't hit this guy.
That's right. He went up there with nothing but swinging in mind.
And it goes like this. If you go up there with that fear, and your body language is that fear, your language is that fear, and you forget the steps of the sale that Jim had wrote right here when I came here, and you forget that, and you forget to do a positive meet and greet. I heard Jim tell you to make eye contact and a firm handshake. They started mass producing cars in the United States in 1903. This was passed on. I didn't invent it. Jim didn't invent it. We plagiarized it from people that were smarter than us and older than us and done this for years. And if you'll do every deal the way you're supposed to do it with the basics, you'll find that knowledge is power that gives you courage that overcomes the fear. And the knowledge is, I know the customer's going to say, I'm just looking. This is the first place I've stopped.
Only got
I'm
5
not an
minutes.
impulse buyer. I'm going to hurry. I've only got 5 minutes. I'm going to shop against a Civic, and I'm going to shop against a Focus before I make a decision. You know they're going to say that, so you're prepared for the objections. You know your product, right? You know your product, don't you? So anything they ask you about your product, are you going to know? Because you know. Because if you don't know, it's going to cause fear. So you know your product, you're ready for objections, you do everything right, and I think that's the beginning of overcoming fear. If you don't do those things right, and you go out and you do this meet and greet right here, Can I help you? Has anybody helped y'all yet?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're the guy who slumped over with the bat, like this right here, who, what's the odds he's going to get a hit?
Not very good.
Not very much. When you were a little kid and you played Little League Baseball and they told you not to do that, did you think, what difference does it make how I have the bat? You didn't understand all the rules. Car business, there's a lot of things you're not going to understand either. But if you'll go out and do everything right, I think that's the very first step in overcoming fear is knowledge. Knowledge of the steps of the sale. You should be able to ride them frontwards, backwards, sideways. At this particular store, Jim's road to the sale is as good as a road to sale as you're going to find. He keeps it very simple and keeps it right in order, makes it really simple for you. If you go out there with the meet and greet you're supposed to, but now what happens? You see the other guys out here and they do a meet and greet like this and they're supposed to be good. They have 8 or 10 cars on board, 12 cars on board, and their meet and greet was,
What's up?
what's up? Anybody help you yet?
Yep.
And
How much you looking to spend?
would you be afraid to still do it right because that's the way Jim taught you in front of your peers? Would there be peer pressure?
Stay on that
Peers?
baseball kind of analogy there. You've heard me say a million times, even the last 3 or 4 days, we're in the practice of retail automobile sales. Like a doctor's in the practice of medicine and a lawyer in the practice of law. And we talk about that baseball analogy. I think I might have mentioned this to some of you, but I've been to a lot of church league softball games. Been to a bunch of them. You know what? Or pickup league softball games where Bob's Bar is playing Willie's Mechanic Shop. One thing I've never seen there, not one time, and Roger, you've been to a lot of them, I've never seen a scout from the Royals or the Cardinals there. I've never seen him one time. I've never seen him sitting in the stands going, what are you doing? Well, I got this 320-pound mechanic out here. I heard he was a... You know what we learn in church league softball is where the bases are, right? And we get to go play right field every 2 weeks or left field every 2 weeks. And we know the function of the game. The biggest mistake that you can make as a professional salesperson is take this 2-week training class and learn the function of the game and then try to make a career out of playing church league softball. And it happens all over town and all over the region and all over the country. There's a whole bunch of substandard 2-week trained, don't know their product, because Roger makes a great point about that. You get to concentrate on delivering extraordinary service, and you get to concentrate on sticking to the steps as long as foundationally you don't have to worry about what you don't know about your product.
If the customer comes right in and says that to you and you decide, oh, this is a special customer, I'm going to skip every step of the sale and I'm going to go right to the counter and get him a price so that he can have his price, buy it, leave whatever he wants to do, you think that that's going to cause a short circuit in a career, a paycheck, a short circuit in this salesman's livelihood?
Yeah, I'll tell you the crazy thing is what it's going to cause is when you look at surveys of customers and the customers that bought cars, you're skipping the steps because you're following their road to the sale. Because their road to the sale, when we talk about fear, their road to the sale is motivated by the fear of loss. So that's why they bring all that stuff up. So let's say we skip all our steps and we go down their fear of loss. As Joe Verdi says, that price road. The amazing thing is when they surveyed customers after they bought a car, you know what they said? 80% of the customers said, I wish they would have investigated my wants and needs before I sold it. They tried to sell me something.
Yes,
I get to tell you about how unique our company is. Every single used car that we have on our lot has stickers this big around and have a price on them. And the good news is that's the same price that's on the internet.
And when they ask you your best price and you say fantastic or great, I'm glad you asked, and go into it, it puts the customer ill at ease, and you also get to go right into the steps of the sale. I'm going to share this with you. I can tell that I look young, but I've done this a long time. You do what Jim said. The customer comes up and demands a price right now on a car. And 80% of the people, as he shared with you, said, I wish they'd have done a better job of fact-finding and investigating. Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys went out and bought a car last time and you bought exactly what you thought you were going to get when you left your doorstep? I've only done that one time in all the cars I've ever bought. One time. I had a Ford F-150 before I had this Explorer. I've got a Toyota truck I bought from Jim. None of those are exactly what I thought I was going to get. But I got a vehicle that suited my wants and needs. You got to figure out what a customer's wants and needs are through the questions that they're asking. Let me share this with you. Customer says, I don't like to negotiate. Here is what I want. I want the bottom line price, and I'll tell you if it's good enough, and I'll buy if it's good enough, and I won't if it's not. In my lifetime, one of those customers, when I went and done that, bought.
Right.
One.
Right.
I still remember him. I was so stunned that he did it. that I almost didn't know how to write the paperwork. I started blah, 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 blah. I didn't know what to say next because it never happens. It's like the Loch Ness Monster. You've heard about it, but you never see it. This guy demanded the best price, ran over me. I went to get it. I couldn't do my fact-finding investigating. I couldn't do the test drive. I couldn't do my steps of the sale. He bought. But the other 900,000 that's ever done that is their negotiation point. Then they say, as soon as you give them that, it's almost like they're part of a script, and they say, well, let me take that with me, and they leave. It's what they want to do is get a price and leave because fear. They're afraid.
And just for the record, what you did when you gave them that price is you set that golf ball up on a great big high tee about this far until they meet a professional salesperson. And when they meet the professional salesperson who investigates their wants and needs, takes them to the least expensive vehicle, gives them a great demonstration and presentation, feature, advantage, benefit, and sets them down at the desk, guess what they get to do? They get to knock it out of the park.
And they will. As soon as that guy brings it out of his piece of paper out.
Yeah, I can do this. Oh, really?
You beat this right here?
No, but I can throw in a couple of oil changes, and they may sell it to you for the same price. They may be able to sell them to a couple $300 or $400 more. You know why? Because that salesperson's earned the right to say, all things staying constant. Have I provided you a great service today? Yeah. Have I made sure that you had a complete understanding of the vehicle that you're purchasing? Yeah. And you said that blue was your favorite color? Yeah. And the car was equipped. Am I not worth $200 or $300? And you know what? Sometimes they will say yes. Or they'll say, no, but I'll pay you the same. Right? And what's wrong with that?
I'll take it.
Sheldon, in your experience, you've been doing this a little while now. When does the peer pressure hit? You're out on the lot, and the other salesmen aren't doing good meet and greets. They're not doing the steps to the sale. They're shooting from the hip. And we all know the problem with shooting from the hip is sometimes it works. I guarantee you can sell 6 cars a month shooting from the hip. I've watched people do it for years.
Yeah.
If you get lucky, you can sell 8 or 9. Our green tag and hit list, which are unique to the Fletchers, means you can shoot from the hip and sell 8 or 9 cars a month.
Right.
Because it's priced so low.
They're not going to beat your price.
They're not going to beat your price. However, at a regular car lot that doesn't have the green tag and hit list, you shoot from the hip, you're a 6-car person. Trust me on this. I've watched this. When does, in your opinion, when does the peer pressure set in to stop doing things right, to stop doing the way you were taught because the other guys don't do it and you're a dork or a nerd or butt kisser or whatever, to continue to do the right things? House mouse, yes.
Yeah. Immediately. I mean, immediately, as soon as you meet.
We're talking about peer pressure from other salespeople.
Oh, from other salespeople?
So, I'll give you an example.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant from other
No, from the other salespeople.
Okay.
Right, yeah. As soon as you start going towards your goal, when does other salespeople start saying, well, Sheldon's getting all the house deals.
Yes.
Sheldon, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, Jim uses this analogy often, crabs in a bucket. And they tend to want to, the people who are jaded and think they have their own idea figured out of how the steps should go, once you start doing the right thing, they see it and they're like, well, he'll be right back where we're at, don't worry about it. He'll do good for a couple of weeks, but then, he'll be doing what we're doing now and he'll be talking to us and
we'll tear him
out in our
down.
groups. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they expect it, and 80% of the time they end up doing just that.
You know what's amazing about salespeople? We have, and I've managed thousands of salespeople over the years. Thousands. I mean, from 1990, I took my first management job in 1993, so that was 22 years. I was young, 22 years old. And one thing that I've historically found out about salespeople across the board, they're incredibly honest. And I believe that. They are, as a rule, as a group, they are an honest group of individuals that get a terrible name in our industry because they are professional and they're family men and women and they're unbelievably honest. But everyone that they work with is dishonest. Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing? And you know what, though? I'm telling you, and it's the truth. You know what? They would never skate another salesperson or take another salesperson's customer. It's not their DNA. It's against the very fiber of their character. But everyone they work with from time to time doesn't have that makeup. Isn't that amazing? Because there's always, and I've said this 1,000 times in every, I was a 23.5 car a month salesperson. And I was in a room with Joe Verdi one time, and we were going around the table, how many cars you sell? 8, 12, 11, 13. And he got to me, and I said 23 and a half. And I was so proud. He goes, how long you been stuck in that rut? He said that to me before it was ever on a tape. And I went, about a year and a half.
Like you're in an AA.
I never got skated. Never. Not one time. I never threw a fit. I never got skated. You know why that? Because if my customer asked for me, it was my customer. And if they didn't, then I didn't make the impression upon them to ask for me. Not only not ask for me, my customers came into the dealership waving my flag like this. And when they said, I need to see Jim Adams, well, Jim's off today, but I usually help people on Jim's behalf. Nope, I'm planting my flag right here, and I'm not leaving this spot until Jim Adams arrives, or I talk to him on the phone. And at Roper, we had 7 different car lots. So, and we sold from all over town, like you do here, Nissan, blah, blah. I guarantee you, if my customer walked into Roper Honda and I worked at the Pontiac store, they'd say, I need to see Jim Adams. Well, he didn't work here. He works at the Pontiac store. Well, he said that he could sell off this lot. Yeah, but we'll help you, and we'll let him know that let him know you're here working with us in his behalf. Nope. I'll just wait right here till you can get him on the phone. This was before cell phones, so. But in the event that customer goes, oh yeah, you'll do, it wasn't my customer.
There's a lot of truth in that. When you talked about the fear, and you said eventually they all start in, you said they all start in on you. I think part of that fear is, how long have you been selling cars?
12 years.
12 years. In your dozen years, let me ask you this. Somebody starts moving forward, and oftentimes it's a green pea. They don't know what all's wrong. And some of the veteran salespeople are going to tell them what all's wrong with the inventory, the management, the location, the ownership, the pricing that we price, the way we appraise cars, our processes. They don't know what all's wrong. So a green pea's selling cars. And this green pea's selling cars, oftentimes a veteran will slide up to them and share with them what all is wrong and why they can't continue to sell cars and why they need to stop doing that meet and greet at Jim Todd and asking those questions. It's a numbers game. Either they're going to buy or they ain't, they'll tell you. And that's a lie. I don't just trust you on that. Right? Let me just tell you. They're out to bring you down. Did you say the bucket of crabs theory? Mm-hmm. And that's so true. Where I'm from, we had strings with crawdads in them, which are going to be your crabs. And you can put crawdads almost to the top of a bucket because they'll pull each other back down. They'll say things like, it's the summertime. It's too hot. We never sell cars in the summer. It's the fall. Everybody here's a football fan. We never sell cars in the fall. It's the wintertime. It's so cold. We never sell cars in the wintertime. Matter of fact, we'll thin our herd down a little bit. You're not going to make it. It's the springtime. You know, there's so many storms around here. It rains so much. We never sell cars in the spring. By the way, do you wear extra large? Because I'm going to need that jacket. It's got the Fletcher emblem on it. You go ahead and give me that because you're going to have to do something else. I've seen your kind come and go.
And the problem is West just bids cars too cheap. I mean, we can't get aggressive because we're getting our price beat because West is too worried. He's too conservative. And you know what? I wish Mike and Josh could get something hung. Yeah. Because they're getting deals hung all over town, and we can't get anything through the business office. I don't even know. You know what? They used to have good donuts, Roger. We used to have good donuts.
If you're a successful person, guess who you're focusing on?
You.
Yeah. Your store, your process, your business. And make no mistake, boys, you're in business for yourself. It'd be like me walking in and introducing you to a billionaire. And this billionaire saying, you know what, Jeremiah, you have what it takes. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rent you a building. I'm going to provide it with a telephone. I'm going to provide it with all your mail service. I'm going to give you $10 million worth of inventory. I'm going to advertise it. I'm going to send you through a training program. And here's what I'm going to do. At the end, I'm going to give you 30% of the profit of everything that you do. How many of you would take that opportunity?
I did.
That is your opportunity. Right. It's absolutely your business.
And even to sell junk at the flea market, you have to pay them for the booth, and they don't give you a phone or a computer.
That's right.
You're selling
That's
junk.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So even to sell haircuts down at the local salon, you have to rent your booth.
And you know what? And you're not making 30% on the junk you're selling. I bought this hammer for $7, and I hope to sell it for $10. You didn't even have to buy the hammer here. We buy the hammer, we pay the floor plan, and nobody's going to say, Craig, I'm sorry, but you passed your limit this month. It's not fair for you to sell 17 cars when a lot of the guys that's been here for a long time are only selling 10. So you need to go on home, and you come back next month, and then I'll let you sell 18.
I want to talk about one more kind of fear that Jim brought up, and he talked about salespeople and the reputation that salespeople have. Like he said, the one salesperson that you meet is everybody, who they never lie, cheat, steal, skate. Just the people they work with do. The fear I want to talk about is a little story that I always share, and it goes like this, rather quickly. We're going to use Johnny Salesperson. We'll say Johnny Salesperson, so I don't pick on anybody here. Johnny Salesperson is a person who goes to church, and on his way to church one day, he sees a house for sale. And Johnny Salesperson gets out of his car, runs up, looks at the house, walks all the way around the house. Johnny Salesperson knows a little bit about houses. He says, this thing's probably going to need windows all the way around. It's going to need a roof. It's probably going to need a porch, and it may need some foundation work. Surely it's going to need some siding. He calls. They said they wanted $100,000 for the house. He tells them it's going to need windows all the way around. It's going to need a roof. It's going to need a porch. It's going to need siding. And he gets them to sell it to him for $70,000. He turns around and he puts the $30,000 into the house. He puts a new roof on it. He puts windows all the way around. He fixes the foundation. He puts siding all the way around the house. He sells the house for $130,000. Johnny makes 30% on his investment. He has $100,000 and he sells it for $130,000. Everybody at church sees Johnny and they pat him on the back. Johnny, sit by us. You need to get with the treasurer of the church here. You need to help them out a little bit. We need to all flip houses with you. You're a genius business person. You bought and sold a commodity by fixing it up, and you made money. We're so proud to have you in our church. That day after church, Johnny's leaving, and he sees on the same corner where he bought the house, but on the other side of the road, he sees a car for sale. Car says for sale, $10,000. Johnny knows a little bit about cars. He's a salesman. He walks around the car. He sees the car may need some tires or some transmission fluid or something underneath the car that has a cracked windshield, and he calls the number on there. The guy brings it to him. He test drives the car. Johnny says, well, this car is going to need a windshield. It's going to need an alignment. It's going to need something fixed in the transmission. The paint is oxidized, and I'm going to have to do something with this interior because it's awful in here. And he gets the guy down to $7,000. Johnny buys the car for $7,000. Johnny puts tires all the way around the car. He puts a filter or a screen, whichever the transmission required on that particular model, in the transmission. He painted the car to get the oxidized paint out, and he repaired the interior. It was bad, and put the ozone smell stuff in there so it smelled great. The car looked brand new. Johnny sold the car for $13,000, but he had $10,000 invested in the car because he bought it for $7,000 and invested $3,000 in it. Made the same 30%. Johnny went to church, and you would have thought he had leprosy. Everybody away from him. They had heard. Did you hear Johnny sold a car and made $3,000 on these people? He ripped them off. And it spread around the church because Johnny had sold a car and he made money. The only difference is we have a house and a car. If you flip a house and make money, you're a genius. You sell a car and make money,
right?
Bad guy. How do you overcome the fear of that? What are your ways of overcoming the perception that comes with you sell a car and make profit?
Provide world-class customer service. I sold somebody in my church.
Say that louder. I want everyone to hear that one. I like that. Say that.
Provide world-class customer service like you've been drilling into.
I know Jim taught you that. I was going to say, I know that has Jim Adams all over it. But I love it, and I think that's one of the ways we do it. And continue on, please.
I sold somebody in my church a car last Friday, and I want that to spread. Like, you know what, Jeremiah, like. He was green. He didn't know a lot what he's doing, but he gave us good customer service and he took care of us.
Right.
Now and into the future.
Because we all sell a unique buying experience. So let's talk about what Roger was talking about in the vein of what is a fair profit. And we talked about this in training. A good deal is not what someone pays; it's what they felt they paid. Right. When the value that they receive for that product exceeds the price they pay. And we talked about Rolex watches. Mm-hmm. A Casio watch and a Rolex watch both have the same function. One of them's $499. One of them's the cheap one's $4,999. I had an Oyster Perpetual Oyster Perpetual Datejust that was $5,000. I don't have it anymore. I got a Taylor guitar instead. Because the value of the Taylor guitar exceeded the price of the Rolex watch. Absolutely.
I love it.
So, what's a fair profit? Well, the good news for you is every single car that we have on our lot is priced at least a fair profit, and sometimes unfair to us and not unfair to the customer. Fair enough? How many of you wear contact lenses? Anyone? So, do you wear contacts? I think, I think that used to, back in the old days when we started talking about this, you could buy a set of contact lenses for a couple $100. But now, through Walmart and these optical centers, you can get everyday contact lenses for $35 for a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great deal, isn't it? $35?
Yeah.
That is a bargain. Does anybody know what it costs to make a contact lens? 7 cents. 7 cents to make a contact lens. One lens on your finger. What a hosing people take. What kind of dirtbag pharmacist would sell something for $35 that they've only got 7 cents in manufacturing costs? Let me ask you a question. You wear glasses? Those your glasses?
Yeah.
How do you see without them?
Not too well.
Not too well. Okay, let me ask you this for those of you that wear glasses. Reading glasses cost me $10. These are good ones. These are Foster Grant, the $10 one. Look at that structure of that.
Very nice.
That's nice.
Okay, how much were your glasses?
Like I think $2 or $250.
$250. Okay, these were $10. So I got a way better deal than he got on his glasses. But yours are prescription, right?
Right.
Okay, so did you think $250 was a fair price when you bought your glasses?
Yeah, and especially when I had some problems with it and they fixed them for free.
Okay, let me ask you this. If it was going without glasses or paying $350, would you still have glasses?
I'd pay $350 to have glasses.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me go on. If it was your choice was going without glasses and paying $1,000 for a pair of glasses, if you had the means to do so,
I would pay $1,000.
you would pay $1,000.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's probably not a number if you had the means to do so that you wouldn't pay because you're not paying for glasses.
Paying for eyesight.
What?
Paying for eyesight.
Absolutely.
Well, you asked him in your step 2, Jim, not to talk about the price of the car, payments, interest rates, trade. Does it have anything to do with the fact that of the timing of the fact that the customer may not be open to that conversation yet?
Absolutely. And it has more to do with it's the only thing they can talk about because of fear of loss. So to slow the process down, they're loaded with how much is it, and what's your bottom dollar, and what's my payment going to run, and how much money do I put down, and how much money can you give me for my trade-in? But I can't talk about price and build value at the same time. So just like we told you in that class, answer their question positively. Roger will love this. When they say, how much is it? That's the best price. This was value price just over 20. By the way, are you going to be the primary driver or Sally going to drive most of the time? If somebody says, hey, I've only got 5 minutes, that's awesome. 5 minutes is more than enough time to show you some of the great features on the new Camry. That reminds me, are you looking for basic transportation or something a little nicer? We have to get back to the car. But when we do get back to the car, and we talked about feature, advantage, benefit, presentation, by the time, this is a PG-13 meeting. By the time we, guys, 80% emotion, 20% logic, right? 80% emotion. We want their hands sweating. We want their voice cracking. We want them to really, really, really want the car.
So for PG-13, you want them all leathered up?
I do. You know what I always say? Okay, I want you to close your eyes and remember that first car date, that you got that girl in your car for the first time. And Roger and I are old enough to drive-in movie, guys, is where they used to put a big screen up and you put a little deal on your car and you're in that car for the first time. And I promise you, of all promises, it was the first time that you really, really, really wanted something. Whatever something is. Okay, whatever that is.
Paradise by the dashboard.
You did. And you know what? That same endorphin level that was in that car when you were 16 years old is in that old lady's house who can barely get around her house on her walker, and she's been walking around. Yet this woman can get on a bus, ride 12 hours to Tunica, stand in front of a slot machine for 4 days straight. Right? The old man that picks the car off of his grandson. Everybody heard that story. 80-year-old man lifted the car. But that's endorphins. And guys, if you don't think that endorphins have anything to do with selling, then never watch a Hardee's commercial.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
They have a sandwich.
Give
in
me
that
every
car?
time.
They did. Well, they had barbecue sauce anyway. It was dripping.
It was everywhere.
Well, Jim, to expound on what you were saying, if they say to you, me, what's the price of that one? I have Lynn Hickey Dodge in me from way back, and I'm going to say those range from, and I'm going to give them a range if it doesn't have a price right on it. That's a Toyota Corolla. Those are going to range between $15,000 and somewhere close to $30,000, depending on how you get equipped. What is it about that Corolla that made you ask the price?
That's the first time I've ever heard that, but man alive.
Like
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something. They start telling you stuff, and oftentimes the Corolla doesn't work. Oftentimes they need a Camry, they need something bigger, or they need an Avalon, or they need a van. But when you ask them, when they ask you what the price is, and you give them the range, or if it has a price on it,
Yeah, just say this is value price just over 20, but the Corollas start from $17,777 all the way up to $25,000, depending on the equipment.
what made you ask the price of that? They'll just start spewing information out about what will cause them to buy the car.
I like that.
It's these endorphins that Jim is talking about that's going to allow you to do that. But the only way you're going to get that is through asking the questions and allowing the customer to answer those questions and listening to them.
Oh my gosh, because now you're in your feature advantage benefit presentation and you talk about engine oil coolers and you talk about transmission coolers and you talk about towing capacity. And you know, every time somebody looks at Tundra and they talk about pulling something with their Tundra, well, how much can it tow? What is the first thing I say every single time?
How much you got?
No. How many of you saw the commercial of a Toyota Tundra pulling the space shuttle?
I saw
Have you
that.
seen it pull the
Yeah.
space?
And you know what I say every time? I said, well, the space shuttle's 250 million pounds. What's your boat weigh? I say that every single time. And I go, no. It doesn't pull 250 pounds. But it will pull any boat you want to pull around here.
Yeah.
What is the towing capacity? 10,000?
Mm-hmm.
10,000 pound?
Yep.
You know what else has a 10,000 pound towing capacity? Most 3/4 tons.
And the best answer, if you don't know, never try to BS a customer.
Oh, no.
This is definitely PG rated.
You'll love this, Roger.
I want you to say, I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying that right now. But then I want you to answer the question. You always notice every time somebody asks me a question, what do I end it with? Remember how much is this one right here? I say those range between that and that. What is about making the question? Well, if it gets down to when you come to that point of what they're asking you a question and putting you specifically on the spot, you're going to turn around and answer it with a question. What question do you think that's going to be?
How much does it need to tow?
I don't know. How much does it need to tow? I don't know. Let you and I find out together. I don't know, but we have a truck specialist that's a manager. I don't know, but I'm sure Jim Adams knows. Let's find out together. Shall we? And you end it with a question. As long as you do it that right there without lying to somebody, that actually builds rapport with the customer and trust rather than loses it. Some salesmen think if I don't know and I say I don't know,
I'm substandard.
I'm substandard.
Right.
It's not true.
So what we do is say, I don't know, somewhere 6, 8, 9, 10,000 pounds.
And what did the customer hear?
Right.
10,000 pounds.
Right.
He said he'd pull 10,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So here's what we do. Every Saturday morning we take a pledge. In this meeting, every Saturday morning, I promise I will not talk out of my ass today. Every Saturday morning. Because you don't get in trouble for saying I don't know. And everyone in this room knows I am not the product specialist. That's you.
This is why a lot of ads on the car lots throughout the United States say they don't want you if you have experience somewhere else, because you come to the lot and tell them what was great at the other lot and what worked at the other lot, what worked right here. But after you get past your green peach stage, and this could be 3 days, this could be 3 months. If you last much longer than 3 months as a green pea, you're slower than I was. I'm pretty slow. So. But then you get into stage 2. Stage 2 is what we were talking about when we talked about, Sheldon was talking about the other salesman coming up on you and putting fear in you. Stage 2, you become a know-it-all. You get a card, a laminated card. This laminated card puts you in the research and development committee. And that's the old salespeople that when Jim's giving a meeting that whisper to each other, Jim don't know what he's talking about. You don't have to do it that way. We did it a different way at a different store, and it worked a lot better than what Jim's talking about. That's the research and development committee. Jim doesn't know how to advertise. We used to advertise different at a different store. Shane doesn't know how to desk a deal. He's bad at it. I don't like Shane talking to my customers. Have you ever heard how high his voice is? You know, squeaky. Squeaky.
Not
Squeaky.
right.
And
His
Josh,
voicemail sounds like he's pissed. This is Shane. Leave your number.
we have 2 people we can turn the finance over. You can give them to Josh Cornell or Mike McDaniel. Oh my God. Also, the inventory's wrong. What else is wrong? Jimmy mentioned about stuff.
It's just
Lunch is terrible.
Oh, the lunch?
Yeah.
Did Jim get that from the local prison? The leftovers? What kind of lunch is that?
This was awesome.
Our inventory sucks. We never have the right colors. If we could keep used cars between $3,000 and $9,000, I'd get rich. All my customers are looking for that. You know, I wonder why those guys down on 7th Street that have those used car lots aren't rich. Probably those customers really aren't looking for those cars. They equate that to a $200 payment. We hadn't found out. But you're in stage 2. When you're in stage 2, you know everything that's wrong. You don't follow the steps of the sale because you found out you could sell a car without following the steps of the sale. And you don't get a TO on your customers because that'd be conforming, and you're not going to conform when you're in stage 2.
Right.
Oh, no.
Stage 2, 80% of salespeople die from this right here. You're negative. You talk about things all the time that you don't have any idea about, like you talk about hold back. You just talk about things you don't need to talk about. You tell customers not to buy warranties.
What do you got in that trade?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're asking what we traded for. What they put in that trade? That's a very good one. And you know so much about everything. You tell. And telling isn't what?
Selling.
Telling isn't selling. So you get this stage 2, kills 80% of salespeople. If you ever get to stage 3, it's all about you, but you know to work the steps of the sale. You know to keep a positive attitude. You realize the importance of follow-up. You know so much about how to do it yourself. You're a true professional. If you ever make it to here, this kills 80% of the people that get in sales. But if you ever make it past this bad attitude and you get to here, you will be able to be a professional. And 80% of the people that ever make it to right here, earning professional wages and being professional, do this for the rest of their life. I've seen them quit when they make it here and go be roofers, selling roofing. I've seen them sell siding. I've seen them go and do about anything you can think of. But guess where they end up back?
Right back.
Hey, Jim, this is Roger. Remember I used to sell for you?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got any spots on your sales floor? I was needing to get back in.
I'm going to give you a prime example of that. Cody Kelso.
See?
Cody Kelso. A great salesperson here, but he finally got it.
But you have to learn. Let me tell you what's funny about these people. This is not Cody Kelso. You guys will all relate this to somebody. You got these bad habits. You don't follow steps to sell. You don't listen to meetings. You don't get TOs. You're asking everybody what we have in trades. You're negative. You're telling everybody what Jim's saying in the meetings doesn't work. So you get this bright idea. Dang, I'm going to go get a job at a different car lot. I'm going to quit here. And you take your bad habits, your bad work ethic, your bad attitude, your negative attitude, the fact that you don't follow the steps, the fact that you don't get TOs to another car lot. Guess what your success ratio is going to be there? But before you leave, you go do this. I'm going to another car lot over here, and they have commissions before you ever think about selling a car. That is $100 bills rain down out of the ceiling into your pocket, and you don't have to work any hours you don't want to work. And they have, you're not going to believe this, on Saturdays, they have the Hooters girls bring wings to them. They just come right on in with the wings. And
With
they
the
feed them
wings?
to you.
That's right.
Oh.
And if you've never had that experience,
Yeah, you
It's
just
a
don't
good
know.
one.
There's no pack on the car, and the pay's great, and the grass is so green over there, it self-mows. It's the greatest grass in the world. But then these people fail 100% of the time elsewhere, and they're also calling back to get their job back. But oftentimes you say, no, because I remember how bad you were. But remember when I was a green pea and I sold 13 cars? Yeah, that was before your 6 months of being in stage 2. If you get to stage 3, it's not all about you. You can do it and teach it. I try to live my life between here. I can never get very far up in here. This is for the Jim Ziglers and Dave Andersons of the world. And down here is as lucky as a guy like me can I think I can hope for, and I shoot for this right here. But I typically live right here. I'll get a little selfish and I'll go right here. But this is a fluid wheel, and you can slip back to here. You can be a green pea again. You can slip back to here. What happens when you slip into here?
That's bad.
Oh, you mad about the pay plan? Oh, we forgot to put that one on here. The pay plan?
you know what really pisses me off, Roger, is that all of our used cars are priced so cheap that we can't make
Can't
a
make
gross
any
on. But then every time I bring somebody to the desk, the desk won't negotiate with me, and my customers always leaves and goes buys one cheaper.
Yeah. I wish I worked at a different store because Sheldon's a house mouse. And every time I turn around, they're just handing deals. Jim likes him.
Yeah, no, Matt likes it.
Oh.
I mean, Matt likes
That's
it.
why he gets all the deals.
That's right.
I can't get any.
It's not, it's not professional.
I'm not putting my people in CRM because they're stealing them out of CRM. Absolutely. Stealing my people. I put them in there and then they steal them.
I think they transferred the phones to Dan's desk.
All of them. Yeah.
I know they do.
All of them.
Every time I answer a call, it's for him.
Christy sends them right to Roger.
Every time.
Right.
And I don't.
You know what? And you've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Christy sends them to Roger. Then why, oh why, 8 or 10 times a week does the general manager of the store walk out there and go, is somebody besides me going to answer this ringing phone? It's amazing. But one of the things that we extinguished the day that I got here was Toyota arrogance. But what happened? We had a great year in 2012. We had a better year in 2013, and 2014 through the roof. And we get lulled into this sense of security that we can stand in the middle of the range line and flip people off.
I'm going to give a timeout because I'm going to tell you this. Do you know what they say at the Superstore where they sell Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz about you guys?
Well,
What do you think?
It's Toyota. It should be that way. It's Toyota.
Easy. It's going to be good for you, Jeremiah.
Those cars sell
You knew it would be easy
themselves.
for you to say.
Say that, what'd you
those
say?
cars sell themselves.
And go on. Anybody got anything else?
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard it all.
Yeah,
And what do you
again, what, I'm going to reiterate what Roger said. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz, and a used car superstore.
Yes.
But you know what? None of us ever better feel that we are not privileged to be able to represent a product
That you don't have to ever make excuses for.
that you never have to make excuses for.
Yeah.
Just like when we sold Kias.
Right. Steve and I were at a Kia store together. We were the #1 Kia store in the state of Missouri for 5 years. St. Louis is in Missouri still, right?
Mhm.
Kansas City's in Missouri still, right?
Oh, yes.
Joplin, Missouri was the #1 Kia store in the state of Missouri. And when I ran that Kia store down there, you know what we didn't have that they have now?
A whole bunch of bad credit. people
Bad
everywhere.
credit. We wouldn't do it. We would say, these are one of your options, like Toyota and Kia and Nissan, and we wouldn't even compare ourselves to Hyundai. And Hyundai owns Kia. But you know what? It all comes back to what Roger was saying. It all comes back to appreciating not just the product, but the process in which we deliver the product.
I get a feel when I walk in the store just like you guys do. Just like the first time you came here and applied for a job, how you looked around, what you saw, what you felt. Customers feel it every time. As long as I've been doing this, I came here and did a sale with Jim in like May. It was May of last year because my son had graduation and prom. He came and took the prom pictures in here. And I had such a good time. And I wanted to come back. It turns out to be about a year before I ever get to come back, and we're not doing a sale. But let me tell you some things that I enjoy about this store. Is Jim Adams' stamp on this store is even when he's not here, he's here. And Jim Adams' stamp is he says something that rings true to me and hits home and I hear it. I look at him and I hear Lynn Hickey saying this right here. And Lynn Hickey had a horrible reputation. You can ask anybody, oh, there was a wham bam, thank you man, they hated everybody. Well, the truth is we had one service department that had 7 bays in it. And we were selling 1,500 cars a month on an average for 7 years. So you do the math. That was for PDIs and UVIs only. If you want your service, go to Jack Clark Chrysler down the street. But Lynn loved customers. I'm going to say that again in case you don't understand. Lynn loved customers. And he always told us about professionalism and being nice to people. And he walked up and shook people's hand. He was the owner. He was the guy who was 6'2", 6'3", wore a big cowboy hat, always had pressed jeans on and the cowboy boots, and was a real horse riding rodeo cowboy guy. And he'd go shake everybody's hand and smile, ask them. And it was very important to him. And what he asked every time, and you better hope you've been good to this customer, because he would do this right here. Hey, I'm Lynn Hickey. What's your name?
Jim Adams.
Jim, how's Sheldon been treating you?
Every
That's
time.
what he said every time. And I sure didn't want my customer to say, well, not very good.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to go very well. And he'd tell us this right here. He goes, I want to be #1 in the United States of America in volume. I want to sell the most cars. That's my ego. #2, he'd say, I want to be #1 in the United States of America in gross. If we sell the most cars, we should be. We don't have to give them away. #3, he would say, I want the happiest customers in the world and the highest percent of feedback and return business in the world. And the only way we're going to do that is taking care of people. Jim showed me a podcast one time when I was listening to it, and he was talking about customer service. Somebody was interviewing you,
Yep.
Auto Success Magazine or whoever. And it rang so true to
The
me.
happiest place on earth.
I thought that Jim had been in some Lynn Hickey meetings. I said, man, where did you hear that at? I was just sitting there listening. It was music to my ears. And what you say about customer service, if they buy from you, if they don't buy from you, don't you want them to leave here knowing they talked to a professional, that you were a professional? You didn't spend 20 minutes looking for keys. The cars were parked where they were supposed to be parked. There wasn't a bunch of people flipping quarters and smoking cigarettes and hanging out in a huddle over there by you. They had a great customer experience. Your desk was clean. They came into a professional place, and you didn't lie to them about anything. You were upfront, open, and honest. Isn't that how you want them to feel?
Mm-hmm.
It's because that's how this man demands it, isn't it? Does he demand that from you guys?
Yes.
Why do you demand that, Jim?
Because at the end of the day, we have a mission statement and we have a cultural statement. And they're equally as important, and we have to ingrain that in them. We talk about retention. We lead the region in retention. We talk about CSI. We do a good job in CSI. We don't do a great job in CSI, and the reason we don't do a great job in CSI is because we don't cheat. Yeah. I want surveys that tell me about the customer's experience, but we won't manufacture surveys for somebody. But our mission statement on October the 4th of 2011, when I walked in here, is to provide award-winning customer service to every customer that walks in our showroom, visits our parts and service department, calls on our telephone, and clicks on our website.
Hold on. Why do you think that's so important to Jim? Who has an idea of that? What he just said, he wants award-winning customer service to everybody who gets on the website, goes to service, comes to the floor. Why do you think that's that important?
Builds a reputation in the area.
Good for business. We stole so
Whoa.
much business.
Say that one more time.
It builds a reputation.
What did you say?
Good for business. We stole all the business from an hour away because of our customer service.
Wow, you guys are going to do well.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
That's
I want
okay.
you to see.
That's okay. Culturally, how do we make that happen? And every business, and I believe, should have a mission statement and a culture statement. Our culture statement is we are equally 100% responsible for the total effort of the team.
Amen.
Like what Roger said, and I was hoping in that fourth wheel up there, the third wheel was you. I was hoping that fourth wheel would be we.
It is.
Because
It is. You recognize everything.
I'm going to tell you, about 6 months ago, we had an old man in bib overalls, and he came into our bathroom, and he was on a cane, and he didn't make it. He didn't make it to the toilet. He got almost to the toilet, but he didn't make it. And as Wes Minor, who watched way too much CSI, as we're both standing there looking at this feces in the middle of the floor with toilet paper over it, Wes says, well, at least he showed remorse, because, very seriously, we're both standing there looking at this on the floor. At least he showed remorse because he did cover it with toilet paper.
Yeah,
Now,
no, Wes, that made me laugh.
You know what? I'm pretty important. I'm a pretty important guy in this organization. I'm the general manager of this organization, and I'm, it's done pretty well since I've been here, and I'm pretty important. But who in the world would I have asked to clean that up? I got 99 employees here.
So hold on, Jim. You didn't say that's not my job.
Oh my goodness!
That's the timeout. Now, Jim, didn't you also act that way when you were a salesman?
Absolutely.
How about when you were a sales manager?
Absolutely.
And a finance manager?
Absolutely.
So you always acted like you act now as a general manager?
Because we're equally responsible for the total effort of the team. Every single person in a red shirt represents Frank Fletcher Toyota.